So we popped on Scream 4, because I was just like, you know what? It's been a while. Let's watch Scream 4. I didn't want to see it. We all know that, obviously, since the first Scream, it's very self-aware, it's very, that stuff. And it's fine, like, what it did in the first one, it was fine because, like, it was talking about the horror film rules, while, obviously, being a horror film, while they're using those rules, yada 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 yada. Fine. And of course you're talking about the old slasher movies, which technically this is what this series is a slasher film. Fine. Second one, I don't know, fucking remember. The third one, something about Jenny McCarthy or something. I don't know. Fuck it. This one, it just becomes so ridiculously meta. With these rules, who could be the killer? Because this fourth one was pretty much mimicking the first one. With how Emma Roberts was kind of playing the Neve Campbell role, and then she had like a boyfriend who kind of stuck into the house, kind of blah 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 blah. So, we were like, hey, this is kind of like the first one. So then we realized, like, yeah, it's kind of mimicking where Rory Culkin and this other AV kid, I always forget his name, whatever the fuck. What movie was he in? He was in The Boy in Saw 2. Donnie Wahlberg's son in the movie, yeah, so these two are like the AV nerds, just like, friggin' Jamie Kennedy's role. It does this whole thing where, like, the movie begins, and it looks like ridiculous, like, generic horror film kind of thing, where, like, these two girls are staying up at night, and blah, 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 and oh my god, they're dead. Then you realize, oh, it's one of the Stab movies. Monica Mars, that chick. I always forget her name. And, fucking Anna Paquin. They're talking about, oh, I don't like the Stab series, blah, blah. Then it's kind of like, oh, it's someone watching a movie within a movie. Okay, fine. Turns out that's actually another one where, like, because they just start stabbing them and stuff. And then it was like a movie within a movie. Like, it was just like, no. And that one was the one with Anna Paquin and Veronica Mars. That was kind of like poking fun of it with, like, the Saw and Hostel series, because you're like, oh no, now it's just like torture porn and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's one of those movies where, like, it does that whole making a commentary on what's going on right now by literally making a commentary on what's going on right now. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things like that. There's a right, like, and it's doing the whole thing now because of new technology and all this stuff. And, like, one of the kid didn't Saw 2, that kid, he has, like, kind of looking like fucking USB cord. How does this work? I don't know how to word again. Fucking hell. Anyway, so it's like he has this and he's got a mic, but he's got like a little like shit fuck camera like right here, and he's just like blah blah blah. I'm totally vlogging. I got this camera. I look like I'm an IT worker, and that kind of stuff, which is like fine, Again, new age kids are like constantly vlogging. What the fuck am I doing right now? Tries to, in a sense, make fun of the found footage thing too by making it like, well, they're pretty much saying like, well, the next step, like, talk about, like, what's the killer's next move? All it's obviously the person's killing them. Saying that, well, the killer's next move is to do something crazier, which is filming his killing, and then, like, putting it online and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And, like, sometimes they, like, do that stupid thing where, like, it hints at someone being the killer, like, really obvious. They're like, oh, it has to be, David Arquette's partner, because she's, like, this perky, pluck blonde, and she's the cop, and she's, like, Uber partners, and, baking him, like, sweets and stuff, and Courtney Cox is, like, upset and jealous and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, it wasn't her. Like, I knew it wasn't her. It's kind of like when you, it's like when you go see, I can't speak. I just don't care. It's like when I saw Devil, and it was funny. Immediately, everyone's like, "Oh, it's gotta be like the crazy black guy security guard." I'm like, no, it's obvious that they're making it so you go, "Oh, it has to be the black guy," but it's not. then they were like, oh, it must be that guy trying to sell you a goddamn mattress. And I was like, no. And the whole time I kept saying it was a goddamn old lady, you know. And then she died, and they're like, oh my god, it wasn't her, Joe. And then when she came back to life, I was like, fucking told you. But, so it was kind of like one of those kind of things. And I basically picked my choices of who was the killer or killers, because there's always, like, you know, multiple killers in this series. I chose it off of, like, who we knew the fuck these people were. You know, I didn't choose Hayden Panettiere because it's like she's too full of shit for it to be her, because it's like, look at me, I'm the pretty girl and I like horror films and I'm totally hitting on Rory Culkin even though I wouldn't care to. Like, you know, she's really like a pretentious little bitch, you know, that's what she is in that movie. Or maybe I'm just judging on her in general, but it's that. And I was like, no, she can't be one of the killers, because they're still playing on the fact that she's a blonde, so she's an idiot. And I just really don't like her, because I really don't give a fuck. Yeah. So I pretty much, like, my friend and I we were like trying to pick up, and the one we both really agreed on was Rory Culkin. I was like, it's gotta be him. First of all, dude's got his hair like long like this. He's just kind of like, well, you know, I'm just kind of here. And, I kind of look like Tommy Wiseau, you know what I mean? We're like, oh god. Yeah, we're like, oh, the guy looks like Tommy Wiseau. Of course he's a killer. Jeez, you know, the house that drips blood on Alex. Like, Jesus. So yeah. Yeah, I was like, it has to be Rory Culkin. He's too, because he's not weird and like, kind of nerdy like the kid with the headset, the Sawtooth kid. He's a little more like, I already know this shit. He's a little, yeah. He's like, he was pretty much like he's like the Matthew Lillard of it, where he was just like, yeah, why would you name your kid Skeet? Sorry. He wasn't the Skeet Ulrich of it. He was definitely like the Matthew Lillard one, where he was just kind of like, he was very obvious that he knew the rules kind of stuff. And then the next person I picked Emma Roberts, because seriously, I don't know who the fuck anyone else was in that cast, because it's like, well, of course the people who were in the original cast, and of course, you know, the cheerleader. You know, but I was like, it has to, and I was like, Emma Roberts. And my friend was like, why were you thinking Emma Roberts? And I was like, well, because the other AV guy is too stupid looking, and cheerleader bitch is too stupid, and Emma Roberts' dad is Eric Roberts. So, you know what? Batman threw him off a building. So, in conclusion, it's Emma Roberts, plus she dyed her hair. Because, well, she's technically supposed to be like Neve Campbell's cousin, and Neve Campbell's a brunette. Well, you know, Emma Roberts is a blonde. But I'm just like, oh, she dyed her hair, so no, I was like, no, she's a killer. It was just like the dumbest reason why. Which is pretty much, like I said, it's the only like known actors or actresses I know. Ugh, my ears. Turns out it was those two. You know, yeah, it's just stupid. And, like, in the end, you know, like, how the movies got, like, more and more ridiculous, like, trying to kill the killers. So, yeah, Rory Culkin is, like, you know, he's dead. He's, oh, shut up and fuck. You know, and then, Emma Roberts, obviously, is alive, and because the whole thing was that they wanted, the whole thing is that they wanted to, like, become famous and have the fame because of how Neve Campbell got it and all that other stuff. So, like when she was being pulled out on the stretcher into the ambulance, and the cameras were all flashing at her, you saw that she was like, oh god, but at the same time, like, you can see that she was smiling. Of course, she would love the attention. And that is terrible. If that's your way of trying to attract attention, just go on a killing spree. You know, but there are a lot of people out there who actually do that because of how sick this country is about pretty much praising serial killers in a way, because they talk about them in such a, like, on such a pedestal, you know. It's just like, you know, like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, so Neve Campbell ends up being alive after she got, like, fucking stabbed in the stomach, which I'm just like, ooh, you know. But again, it's like, she gets stabbed in the stomach, then she gets, like, punched, then Emma Roberts, like, punches her continuously in the stomach. She's like, how are those stitches? And she's, like, bleeding and stuff. And it totally reminded me of in Prometheus during the abortion scene, which is still like the reason why I like that movie, is because there was an abortion scene. I swear to God, if it didn't have it, I'd probably be like, yeah, whatever. But I'm like, oh my God, it's a movie with an abortion scene. He won me over. Anyway, so bleeding from the stomach, blah blah blah, and then so fighting and blah and all that other stuff. Courtney Cox comes in and she's like, oh my God, you know, that was the dialogue, because I really didn't care. And then Neve Campbell takes a fucking defibrillator to Emma Roberts' head and just... And then what was really ridiculous is that somehow she got up from that, and then she's like going to like stab her, and of course she turns around and like shoots her in the head. And I'm like, alright. But yeah, she was like, you know, first rule of remakes, don't mess with the original. And I'm like, yeah.